Hi, welcome back to my bi-weekly review and ramble on Tower of God. Let's dive right into the latest batch of chapters. So the conversation between Manchenny and Jinsung Ha has told us a lot about the nature of older rankers and royal princesses who reside within the upper floors of the tower. I found Jinseng's speech incredibly interesting because he notes that old officials don't desire even the smallest amount of change after the ancient wars, stating that the younger generations are the ones that will stir up the progress, which makes Zahad's use of the hidden anti-rancor weapon, the El Rabina, strange to both me and Jinseng. I totally agree with Jinseng that it's unbefitting of Zahad to destroy the collection of playthings he's built up during his totalitarian reign over the Empire. This leads me to a mini theory that maybe the El Rabina was actually pulled out from storage by Manchenny or someone other than Zahad. Possibly Adobe, because Manchenny called the weapon a cannon salute from the army. Not sure. I don't think the orders to kill Jinseng are false, obviously, but the accruement of deadly anti-rancor weapons may be a personal choice. Though it could also be simply that Jinseng is recognizing that Zahad is really serious about this war. Either way, it's pretty interesting to see how the Hidden Floor arc has affected the balance of the tower. I should also mention that their half-hearted fight is pretty insane, like lots of destruction on both sides. I love that we're getting to see Jinseng's fighting techniques, like the Red World Shinsu explosion. Also, his Shinsu body reinforcement is pretty mind-blowing. He doesn't even bother to stop the blasts and then casually air kicks the El Rabina out of the sky. And I repeat, that was a half-hearted fight according to SIU. Like, imagine what the upper floors will be like if that's the case. And then we also have Manchenny showing off her distinctive lightning Shinsu traits from the Khun family bloodline. But in chapter 310, it was actually quite hard to notice that she blocked the blast from reaching the right-hand side of her command line. If you look closely, you'll actually see her palm extended to that side. It's really small though. It's just a nice little detail by SIU. Honestly, I'm glad we're getting to see more of her personality, because Manchenny's younger data form demonstrated this sort of animosity that we hadn't really seen from the older form as of yet, and it seems like now in 311 we're sort of getting that fiery spirit from her again. It seems like she needs a little bit of blood and war to really sort of fire up her spirit, I guess. Now, I didn't talk about this in the last video because I wasn't entirely sure what was going on, but then I had realized that I kind of forgot the content from a couple chapters before that. It's Khun's death, so to speak. Now, firstly, I thought it was a neat idea to incorporate Khun's recently learned ice-infused techniques into the way he sort of survived the internal bomb planted by Rachel. It wasn't entirely explained how it works, but I'll just buy the concept for now. Secondly, I don't think Khun will die, and I kind of genuinely believe that Baam will probably force Rachel to fix him in some way. I'm not sure how the bomb works exactly, but I imagine she'll have a method of reducing its impact on Khun. It's a really interesting plot point nonetheless, and I'll cover that in a little bit. And then we have Beta finally coming back. Like, when was the last time he had a prominent role in the story? I think it might have only been in his introductory arc, the workshop battle. I can't say I'm pleased with how SIU has handled his character, but I'm happy that Androssi is kind of dragging him along. And then speaking of her, it seemed that SIU might not be sidelining her in this confrontation. I expressed my disappointment at her role in the Hidden Floor arc, so to see that her character's involvement is just bouncing back immediately was satisfying to say the least. I've always been an Androssi fan, even if she kind of screwed up majorly in the Name Hunt Station arc, so I'm just hopeful that we'll actually get something substantial from her, and maybe that will tie into later plot points potentially, I'm not sure. Hopefully we get a little bit more on Hoaquin as well, because while we did get his backstory, we didn't get a full breakdown of his past necessarily. I'd like to see more of it. Especially because Arie Hon is just this really interesting, abusive sort of father figure that we haven't learned a lot about, and I just want to see more of him. Because we know that he has like this really intense test that he has to give to rankers, I think, or was it? It might not be to rankers, but it was to just people moving up the tower. And he gives them the test, and apparently it's really hard to pass. So I'm just really interested to see what exactly this guy is like. Now, Baam. When he goes after Rachel for any sort of misdeed, the fandom becomes a little bit chaotic. If you understand the name of my channel, then you probably will know that I support Rachel's inclusion in the story long term. And I would be pretty disappointed if SAU wrapped up her story early on. Like, I don't like Rachel as a person, but I respect what a brilliant antagonist she is. Even if sort of SAU has more recently included more plot conveniences to springboard her up the tower. I might make a separate video actually discussing my opinion on Rachel and how that contrasts against the fandom for the most part. But that won't happen for a while. But yeah, I totally get why people want Baam to kill her. I just subscribed more to the theory that Rachel may lose mobility in one or both of her legs, as maybe like a repercussion of her injuries to Dan back in Season 1, Part 1 I think it was? I can't even remember, it was that long ago. But if not that, then I think SAU might build on Baam's growing awareness of Rachel, forcing her to submit to his wishes, without sort of diving off that mental deep end like he did in the Train City arc. Like, he now readily identifies the villainy of Rachel, so I don't expect a repeat of his previous fights where he'll get sort of like, he'll go for a hit and then he'll be pushed at the last moment because he just can't land that final blow. But I feel like SAU has done a really solid job of developing this relationship though in very distinct stages. So I feel like there will be definitely more progress in this confrontation, and I feel like it might come to a head where Baam starts to really identify Rachel as the person he needs to at least threaten and remove out of the tower. I also love the contrast between Yura and Rachel. You've got that ever beautiful idol that literally sparkles, compared with the completely plain looking girl. SAU has also made it a point to give Rachel an opposite version of herself in every aspect of her character, which I feel emphasizes the disparity between her and the rest of the tower. Now we move on to Rak. Now he's back in his fighting form, but what I and a couple of other people noticed on the Tower of God subreddit is that SAU actually is drawing Rak differently here. There's a noticeable slimming down of his features to create a more simplified design. And now I kind of wonder if that's a product of Korean complaints about Rak not getting to physically shine in the Hell Train saga. I'm not sure because I don't speak Korean, but if anybody knows what the general feedback from Naver readers are, let me know in the comments below. Because I just get the sense from reading at least line webtoons and knowing the controversies that go over in Naver that potentially SAU has gotten some flack for Rak's design. And then lastly, we pick up on the character storyline of Miseng's revenge against Rachel and Hoaquin. I gotta admit, I'm kind of surprised SAU is weaving it in right now, but I guess it allows for higher stakes in Androssi's Heroran's and Hoaquin's clash. I'm interested to see where this goes from a character arc standpoint, and whether we'll see a, not necessarily Miseng forgiving Hoaquin or anything like that, but coming to terms of what has happened and moving on and growing as a person. I think that's where Miseng goes from here. She doesn't seem like the type who will follow through with a revenge plot, necessarily. Oh, and I almost forgot. I don't know how to say Heroran's or Hurion's. The red girl. The red crimson scout girl. I don't know how to say her name, so sorry if that offends anybody, but I can't say her name. I literally have no clue how to say it. So please don't blast me down in the comments. Okay, now onto the blog content. So if you watched my last video, you would have realized that I didn't cover it last time at all. I won't be talking about the blog content unless it's especially informative or relevant to the video discussions. Now, I've decided to hold off on talking about the blog posts this week as well, because I'm planning a future video on SAU's depiction of Rachel and other antagonists in the series. Just please don't expect the blog post discussion to be consistent, because it's not always very interesting, and sometimes I'll use that information in other videos, or I'll use it in a different discussion video. It's not always going to be relevant to what I'm talking about at that particular time. But yeah, I've really enjoyed these past couple chapters, especially like Khun and Rachel's situation and how that's tied nicely into Baam's evolution as a character. You know, like we've gotten his character arc in stages, with each push by Rachel signifying a different turning point for his development. So I'm kind of interested to see where this third fight leads. I'm also liking the smaller revenge plots such as Miseng's journey to kill Rachel and Hoaquin, because the sweet and sour team is just underutilized, quite frankly. I'm hoping this mini character arc can really establish Miseng as not just some background character to the main cast, and actually someone she doesn't necessarily have to change the tower or anything in any meaningful way, but she just has to be more important to the overarching story. And not just someone like Prince, who non-coincidentally died for no reason at the hands of Hoaquin. And then we have Jinsung being a boss against Manchenny, which is just always satisfying. You know, SAU has really captured the scale of this conflict really well, with like debris flying everywhere and small little movements like Jinsung's air kick just causing cascade of destruction over the front lines of the battle. Hopefully we'll get to see more of Manchenny's abilities and see exactly what she's after in the tower, because we haven't really learnt that yet. So I'm just wondering what's her deal exactly. I don't think we're going to get it in this little transition period here, but I think we'll get it soon. Also, the art in chapter 311 especially was some of the best I've seen from SAU in probably 4 or 5 chapters. I'm just loving the ship designs and the way the El Rabina created this curling path of debris around Jinsung. But yeah, like, I don't know, overall, this setup for Season 3 has been really amazing, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Okay, thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you'd like to see more content. I'll see you next time.